We'll do Cambridge 16th, reading 1, passage 1. Why we need to protect polar bears. Now, first we'll start with question 1 to 7, and the questions are true, false, not given. As you know, we'll give answer true if the statement agrees with the information. So what it means, if the statement given here agrees with the information in the passage, that means we'll say it is true. And if the statement contradicts means it is opposite to the information given in the passage, that then we will give false as the answer. And if there is no information given in the passage related to the statement, then the answer will be not given. Okay, so now you know how to solve the question true, false, not given. We'll start with some examples. The first question is, polar bears suffer from various health problems. So polar bears, they are specifically talking about polar bears. They suffer from various health problems. So they suffer from various health problems due to build-up of fat under their skin. So under their skin, the fat is built up. So because of that, they face or they suffer from various health problems. We'll start the passage. Polar bears are being increasingly threatened by the effect of climate change. So means there are threats of climate change on polar bears. If climate is changing, now it will affect polar bears, but their disappearance could have far-reaching consequences. But if they totally get disappeared, polar bears अगर खत्म हो गए, तो इसके बहुत far-reaching consequences होंगे, मतलब बहुत खतरनाक consequences हो सकते हैं. They are uniquely adapted to the extreme conditions of the Arctic Circle. So they have adapted, जो उन्होंने adapt कर लिया है extreme conditions Arctic Circle की, क्योंकि that is totally covered with ice. So where temperatures can reach -40 degrees Celsius, जहाँ पे temperature -40 चला जाता है, तो वहाँ की conditions को उन्होंने adapt कर लिया है. One reason for this is that they have up to 11 centimeters of fat underneath their skin. So this is the thing. So polar bears suffer from various health problems due to build up fat under their skin. So one reason for this is that they have 11 centimeters of fat underneath their skin. So उनकी skin के नीचे 11 centimeters of fat होती है. Humans and comparative levels of adipose tissues would be considered obese and would be likely to suffer from diabetes and heart disease. Yet the polar bear experience no such consequences. Okay, so अगर ये आप सारी information पढ़ें, so you tell me what should be the answer of first question. Should it be true, false, or not given? So try to give the answers. If you are watching the video, if you are on the live session, then I'll suggest you to attempt this question. So if you want me, I can give you certain time. So we'll get about 2 minutes or 1 minute if you can. So the answer is clear. Should it be true, false, or not given? So 15 more seconds. If you want to give your answer, you can. Okay. Now the answer of this question is clearly false. Why the answer is false? Because it is here written that humans humans with comparative level of adipose tissues, अगर humans के पास ऐसे कुछ tissues हों, would be considered, वो क्या consider होंगे? Obese means मोटे, and would likely to suffer from diabetes and heart disease. तो उनको heart disease भी हो सकती है, diabetes भी हो सकती है. Yet पर the polar bear experiences no such consequences. लेकिन polar bear को में ऐसे कोई भी consequences नहीं होते. मतलब so that means it is for sure. So the answer of this question, the answer of this statement is false. Why? Because polar bear do not suffer any kind of health issues because of this. They do not suffer. So answer of this is false. Now if we move to the second question, the study done by Liu and his colleagues compared different groups of polar bears. Now did they compare different groups? किसके different groups? Polar bears के. So let's see if they have compared different groups of polar bears. Now if we move to the next passage, so it is written, a 2014 study by Shi, Ping Liu, Louis and colleagues shed light on this mystery. They compared the genetic structure of polar bears with that of their closest relatives from a warmer climate, the polar brown bears. Okay. Now they compared the genetic structure of polar bears with that of their closest relatives from a warmer climate, the brown bears. So उन्होंने क्या किया? उन्होंने polar bears का genetic structure किससे compare किया? Brown bears के साथ. उनके जो closest relative हैं brown bears, उनके साथ उन्होंने comparison किया. Now tell me whether this question should be true or false. Study जो हुई थी done by Lee and his colleagues compared, उन्होंने compare किया what different groups, उन्होंने different groups को compare किया polar bears के. Now is it true, is it false, or is it not given? So I'll give you about 1 minute if you want. So try to answer this question in 1 minute. You can answer it in comment section if you want. So the study done by Lee and his colleagues compared different groups of polar bears. तो क्या different groups of polar bears की study हुई थी, उनमें comparison हुआ था? Okay, let's check. So again, the answer of this question is false. Why the answer is false? So you might feel कि हाँ comparison तो हुआ क्योंकि polar bears का brown bears के साथ comparison हुआ. So लेकिन ये polar bears का comparison हुआ था brown bears के साथ. ठीक है? So if we understand this, then we'll come to know the question here was that they compared different groups of polar bear. So brown bears is not a group of polar bears. तो polar bears के different groups में comparison नहीं हुआ था. Brown bears का polar bears के साथ comparison हुआ था. So that makes it clear that the answer of this question should be false. क्योंकि ये दो अलग-अलग species हैं, ठीक है? लेकिन यहाँ पे same polar groups के different groups के बारे में बात की थी. So this is false. Now again, next question is Lee and colleagues were the first researchers to compare polar bears and brown bears genetically. So they were the first researchers. We need to focus on this part because if they are the first researchers, then we should say this is true. So they are the first researchers to compare polar bears and brown bears genetically. So we know that they compared genetic structures of polar bear and brown bear, there is no doubt. Now we need to understand, were they the first researchers? So before that sentence, there is, in 2014 study, Lee and colleagues shed light on this mystery. But again, we can't say that they were the first researchers. There are chances that the research has been done on them before they did. So this allowed them to determine the genes that have allowed polar bears to survive one of the toughest environments on Earth. So Lee and colleagues found bears have genes. So nothing here confirms us that they were the first researcher. So that again, so they could be the first researcher or they could not be the first researcher. So on that basis, we would simply say the answer is not given. So we can't say to be specific that they were the first researchers. So answer should be not given. Now, so we'll move on to the fourth question. Polar bears are able to control their level of bad cholesterol by genetic means. Means polar bears जो हैं, they were able to what? Control their levels of bad cholesterol. So they were able to control bad cholesterol by genetic means. So their genes were such that they were able to control their bad cholesterol. Now, you need to tell me whether this question is true, false, or not given. So let's read. So this allowed them to determine the genes that have allowed polar bears to survive in one of the toughest environments on Earth. Lee and his colleague found the polar bears had a gene, known as ABOP, which reduces level of low density lipoprofiles, LDLs, a form of bad cholesterol. Okay, now you tell me whether the answer is true, false, or not given. From this statement itself, you will be able to answer this question. So if you want time, you can take time, but try to give the answer. I will really appreciate if you try to give the answer if you're watching this video. Now, polar bears were able to control their level of bad cholesterol by genetic means. Now, is it true? Yes, it is true. Because if we see here, they found that polar bears have a gene. They have a gene known as ABOP, which reduces, this can be the synonym for control, level of low density lipoproteins, LDLs, a form of bad cholesterol. So lipoproteins. So it is a bad cholesterol and they are able to control. They have a gene which is able to reduce level of bad cholesterol. So the answer of this question is true. So this answer must be true. This was false. This was false. This was not given. And this is true. Now the next question says, female polar bears are able to survive for about 6 months without food. So is it true? Female polar bears were able to survive for 6 months without food. So could female polar bears survive for 6 months without food? Now you can check this information here, because here it is written female polar bears. Now I'll give you, if you want, I'll give you 1 minute to solve this question. I will highly appreciate if you try to give answer to this question. So were female polar bears able to survive for about 6 months without food? Okay. Now, if you read this information, here it is written, female polar bears, however, undergo extreme conditions during their pregnancy. जब pregnancy होती है तो वो extreme condition से गुजरती हैं. Undergo means गुजरना. Once autumn comes, जब जैसे ही पतझड़ आती है, these female will dig maternity dens in the snow. तो ये जो females हैं, ये गुफा kind of ये dig करती हैं in the snow, बर्फ में, जहाँ पे ये बच्चे दे सकें, and remain there throughout the winter. तो पूरी सर्दियाँ वहाँ पे रहेंगी, both before and after the birth of their cubs. जब वो अपने बच्चे हैं उनके बर्थ से पहले भी बाद में भी. And this process results in about 6 months of fasting. तो जब वो बच्चे देती हैं तो मे बी 3 months पहले 3 months बाद, सो ये पूरा प्रोसेस जो है 6 months का गुजरता है. और इस प्रोसेस में वो फास्टिंग करती हैं. फास्टिंग मीन्स दे डोंट हैव एनीथिंग टू ईट. वेयर द फीमेल bears have to keep themselves and their cubs alive. ठीक है. डिप्लीटिंग देयर ओन कैल्शियम एंड कैलोरीज रिजर्व्स. वो डिप्लीट होता है, खत्म होना उनका, उसका खुद का कैल्शियम और कैलोरीज खत्म होते रहते हैं. लेकिन डिस्पाइट दिस देयर बोन्स रिमेन स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड डेंस. फिर भी उनकी जो हड्डियां हैं वो स्ट्रॉन्ग रहती हैं, संगनी मतलब काफ़ी डेंस रहती हैं, स्ट्रॉन्ग रहती हैं. सो दिस आंसर ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन शुड बी ट्रू. नाउ पोलर bears, female polar bears, they survive for 6 months without food. They remain in that dens and she keeps her cubs alive. So female bear keeps her cub alive for 6 months, means the whole process goes for 6 months. She don't eat anything in the process of these 6 months. Now, our last question goes, our sixth question goes, it was found that the bones of female polar bears were very weak when they came out of the dens in spring. ठीक है. Spring means जब बारिश होती है. So it was found the bones of female polar bears were very weak and they when they came out of the dens in spring. तो उनकी जो female की bones हैं, so they are very weak. But I think we have studied here, so their bones remain strong and dense. She keeps on fasting for about 6 months, where the female bears have to keep themselves and their cubs alive, depleting their own calcium and calories reserves. Okay? Despite this, the bones remain strong and dense. So, what should be the answer of this question? You tell me. Question number 6. So the answer of this question is false. Why it is false? Because the bones of the female polar bears are not weak. So they are not weak. So they are strong and dense when they came out of their dens. Now, our 7th question says, the polar bear's mechanism for increasing bone density could also be used by people one day. So their mechanism, whatever mechanism they have in their body to increase their bone density, because they are fasting for almost 6 months and still they have very high bone density. How this could happen? So if that mechanism is known to people, then they can use it one day. So now, let's see. So if you read this much information, I think you will be able to answer the question. In this statement, it is written that physiologist, this person, Elenda Lennox and Ellen Goodship, found an explanation of this paradox. Paradox means contradiction, means वो fasting करती हैं फिर भी bone density है, ये कैसे possible है? Opposite हो रहा है ये. In 2008, they discovered that pregnant bears were able to increase the density of their bone before they started to build their dens. तो उन्होंने discover किया जो pregnant bears थी ना, उनकी जो bone density थी वो पहले ही increase हो जाती थी, मतलब वो they were able to वो increase कर लेते थे जब वो अपनी गुफा kind of build करना शुरू करते थे. In addition, उसके अलावा 6 months later, 6 महीने बाद, when they finally emerged from the dens with their cubs, जो अपने बच्चों के साथ वो गुफा से बाहर निकलते थे, there was no evidence of significant loss of bone density. कोई भी ऐसा evidence नहीं था कि वहाँ पे उनकी bone density कम हो रही है. That means again इससे भी हमें पता लगता है कि the bone of the female polar bears were strong and they were not very weak. Hibernating brown bears do not have this capacity and must therefore resort to major bone reformation in the following spring. लेकिन जो brown bears थे वो जो ऐसा करते हैं जो 6 months में भी प्रोसेस थ्रू गुजरेंगे, लेकिन उनकी जो बोन डेंसिटी है वो कम हो जाती थी और वो उनको बोन रिफॉर्मेशन प्रोसेस से गुजरना पड़ता था जो नेक्स्ट स्प्रिंग आता था उस समय. नाउ लेकिन पोलर बेयर्स उनकी बोन डेंसिटी सेम थी. इफ द मैकेनिज्म, सो हियर we can say if the mechanism of bone remodeling in polar bears can be understood, ये जो mechanism है इनका जो bone density कम नहीं होती, so if that is understood by the people, many bedridden humans जो बिस्तर पे लेटे हुए हैं, मतलब वो चल फिर नहीं सकते हैं, and even astronauts could potentially benefit. तो उनको benefit हो सकता है अगर we can identify means how polar bears stay or keep their bone density high. So what should be the answer of this question? The answer is the polar bear's mechanism for increasing bone density could also be used by people one day. So the answer is true. This can be used by people one day if we understand the mechanism behind their such genes. Now we'll move on to the question 8 to 13. If you want, you can solve this with me. Now, first of all, we have to choose one word only. So one word only means that the answer should be in one word. So first question is reasons why polar bear should be protected. Why polar bear should be protected? Now we'll move to this section. People think of bear as unintelligent and dash. जो लोग हैं वो bears को क्या समझते हैं? People think of bear as unintelligent and dash. Bear क्या है? Unintelligent है and dash है. So if you move through this information, ठीक है, here you can see the word intelligent. So, but intelligent is opposite to unintelligent. Yeah, we can see stupid. So that is unintelligent, बेवकूफ. Now, what should be the answer of this question? So I'll give you 1 minute. If you want to try this question, you should try and tell me in the comment section what should be the answer. People think bears are unintelligent and dash. So I'll read it for you. The medical benefits of polar bear for humanity certainly have their importance in our conservation efforts. जो मेडिकल बेनिफिट्स हमें मिल सकते हैं पोलर बेयर को, ह्यूमैनिटी को मिल सकते हैं पोलर बेयर से, इसलिए इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि हम उनको बचाने के एफर्ट करें. बट दीज शुड नॉट बी ओनली फैक्टर्स टेकिंग इनटू कंसिडरेशन. बट दीज शुड नॉट बी द ओनली फैक्टर्स. बट सिर्फ ऐसा ही नहीं है कि उनसे हमें कोई मेडिकल बेनिफिट होगा इसलिए हमको उन्हें बचाना है, मतलब और भी रीजंस होने चाहिए बचाने के. वी टेंड टू वांट टू प्रोटेक्ट animals we think are intelligent and possess emotions such as elephants and primates. Primates are men, chimpanzees, monkeys. Now हम उनको प्रोटेक्ट करने की कोशिश करते हैं जो हम सोचते हैं कि ऐसे एनिमल्स जो इंटेलिजेंट हैं, जिनमें इमोशंस हैं, जैसे एलिफेंट हो गए, प्रीमेट्स हो गए. Bears on the other hand seem to be perceived as stupid and in many cases violent. जो बेयर हैं उनको क्या सोचा जाता था? वो मतलब बेयर्स को प्रोटेक्ट करने की जरूरत नहीं है क्योंकि वो क्या है? स्टूपिड हैं. दे आर स्टूपिड एंड वायलेंट. सो हियर इफ यू सी द आंसर ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन वुड बी वायलेंट. सो bears are considered as stupid means unintelligent. This is a synonym for unintelligent, and the other answer is violent. However, this may not be correct, for example, but ये correct नहीं है. Yet, evidence from the field challenges those assumptions. Anecdotal means kind of story evidence, not factual, but story evidence tells that from the field, जो हमें stories मिलती हैं field से, challenges those assumptions. ये वो बोलते हैं कि नहीं ये stupid नहीं है, violent नहीं है. Suggesting, for example, that polar bears have good problem solving ability. इनके पास good problem solving ability है. A male bear called Gogo in Tennozi Zoo, Osaka, यहाँ पे एक bear था, Gogo, has even been observed making use of tools to manipulate his environment. तो वो tools भी use करता था, tools भी बनाता था अपने environment को manipulate करने के लिए. Now in Tennozi Zoo, so they have talked about this zoo, a bear has been seen using a branch as a dash. This allowed him to knock down some dash. So what could be the answer? So यहाँ पे एक bear था, Gogo, Tennozi Zoo में, वहाँ पे he has been observed making use of tools. वो tools का use करता था अपने environment को manipulate करने के लिए. The bear used a tree branch. So उसने क्या use किया? A tree branch. So here it is written branch. On multiple occasions to dislodge. Dislodge मतलब हटाना. A piece of meat hung out of his reach. So उसकी पहुंच से थोड़ा दूर था, कोई किसी branch पे, मतलब एक टहनी पे मीट था, ठीक है. उसको हटाने के लिए, मतलब खींचने के लिए उसने ट्री ब्रांच को यूज किया. तो उसने यूज किया उसे एज अ टूल. सो वी कैन से in Tanzania Zoo, a bear has been seen using branch as a tool. This allowed him to knock down some meat. Knock down means dislodge. So this can be the synonym for knock down. So मतलब हटाना, ठीक है. Knock down means नीचे फेंकना, नीचे गिराना. जो कि meat जो hung out of his reach, जो उसके reach से दूर लटका हुआ था, तो उसने उसे गिराया. So that could be a piece of meat, can be some meat. ठीक है. Now the answer is violent, tool and meat. Now we are left with three more questions. Okay. Okay, 11th question is, a wild polar bear worked out a method. So wild polar bear ने एक method निकाला for reaching a platform where a dash was standing. तो कहाँ पहुँचने का method of reaching a platform, एक platform पर पहुँचने का उसने method बनाया where a dash was standing, जहाँ पे एक dash standing था. He calculated a calculated move by a male bear involved running and jumping onto barrels in an attempt to get into a photographer standing on the platform 4 meters high. So उसने एक move किया, calculated move मतलब बड़े सावधानी से. So he worked out a method, means उसने एक move किया, calculated move, एक method से वो पहुंचा platform पे where a dash was standing. So वो कहाँ पहुंचा? Where a photographer was standing. So answer should be photographer. Photographer. That should be the answer. Photographer was standing. The next, polar bear have displayed behavior such as conscious manipulation of objects and activities similar to a dash. So polar bears have displayed behavior such as conscious manipulation. Conscious होता है जानबूझ के, means deliberate, manipulation of objects and activities similar to a dash. So if we read next paragraph, in other studies such as one by this person in 2008, polar bears showed deliberate and focused manipulation, means conscious manipulation of objects and activities. For example, so this person observed bears putting objects in piles. तो bears ने क्या किया? Objects को, piles होता है ढेरी होता है, मतलब इकट्ठा करते रहा, उन्होंने ऑब्जेक्ट्स को एक ऊपर से ऊपर स्टैक कर लिया, एंड देन नॉकिंग देम ओवर इन व्हाट अपेयर टू बी ए गेम. एंड नॉकिंग देम ओवर मतलब फिर पहले उनको इकट्ठा किया, फिर फेंक दिया उनको, मतलब नीचे गिरा दिया, इकट्ठा किया गिरा दिया, मतलब जैसे वो कोई गेम हो, तो ऐसा करते थे वो. So polar bears have displayed behavior such as conscious manipulation of objects and activities similar to a, so answer should be game. So game की तरह वो चीज़ें एक्टिविटीज़ करते थे, ऑब्जेक्ट्स को मैनिपुलेट करते थे, पहले इकट्ठा करते थे फिर गिरा देते थे. So this could be your answer. Now bears may also display emotions, for example. So bears और क्या display करते थे? Emotions. Example के तौर पे, they may make movements suggesting dash if disappointed when hunting. तो they make, so emotions वो कैसे display करते थे? Let's see if they have talked about emotions. So photographer यहाँ पे आंसर आएगा. The answer here is game. Now I'll move on to the next last question. Emotions. Okay, they have talked about emotions. As for emotions, while the evidence is once again anecdotal, and anecdotal means this is not based on fact, it is based on observation. Many bears have been seen to hit out at ice and snow. So बहुत सारे bears को देखा गया कि वो hit करते थे किसको? Ice को या snow को, seeming out of frustration, मतलब frustration में, when they have just missed out on a kill. When they have just missed out on a kill मतलब किसी को मारना, मतलब वो शिकार कर रहे थे लेकिन वो मिस कर गए, उनको मार नहीं पाए, तो वो फ्रस्ट्रेशन में क्या करते थे? स्नो को या आइस को हिट करते थे. सो दैट क्लियरली स्टेट्स कि उनमें फ्रस्ट्रेशन थी. सो दे मे मेक मूवमेंट्स सजेस्टिंग फ्रस्ट्रेशन इफ डिसअपॉइंटेड व्हेन हंटिंग. जब वो हंट करते थे, अगर उनमें फ्रस्ट्रेशन हो, ठीक है, तो वो हिट करते थे आइस को. सो दे मेक मूवमेंट्स. मूवमेंट्स कौन सी थी? हिटिंग द आइस और स्नो, ठीक है, आउट ऑफ फ्रस्ट्रेशन, सजेस्टिंग व्हाट? फ्रस्ट्रेशन. FRUSTRATION, फ्रस्ट्रेशन. इफ डिसअपॉइंटेड व्हेन हंटिंग, जब वो हंट करते थे, ठीक है, व्हेन दे जस्ट मिस आउट ऑन ए किल. नाउ this was the passage 1. I hope you understood the passage. If there is anything you want me to cover, or if you want me to attempt any reading, you can comment on this live class, and then I will definitely make video on that specific reading. I suggest you to participate if you want, and if you feel that is beneficial for you. This I think this videos, yeah, these videos will be highly beneficial for you if you want to improve your reading skills. I think I must say. So thanks for now. I highly appreciate your involvement if you are involved. So do comment and share it with your friends, and do comment if you want me to improve anything, if you want me to do anything specific. Thank you.